How you feeling?
Good. Couldn't have scripted it better for a return as far as, coming and get your minutes and kind of keeping it into. But, I feel good. The biggest thing is I've never really had a groin injury before, so just trying to make sure, I'm 100% healthy when I go back out there and feel good today. The biggest thing is how you feel the next day. Like the game is the game. You're high on adrenaline anyway, but today I feel good, went through practice. So.
I'm sure you've been told many times how tricky those can be. Do you really have to watch yourself now in terms of when you exert yourself, how you exert yourself, those kinds of things?
Yeah, it's just we're at that point in the year now too, where it's like you got to pick your spots. Not necessarily in game. In game is full go, but whether it's practice and shoot around, kind of finding your spots, when to go, when to dial it back, and that's always been one of the tougher things in my career because I've been so used to just going. So now understanding that you're working smarter, not harder, and understanding like you said, Devin Booker's been out for 3 whole months. I've talked to him about it. It's just a tricky thing. And understanding that it's one of the things you have to watch. You have to make sure you're right because it could just come back. So like I said, just doing the proper treatments, and being smart.
Jamie mentioned that you stayed active last night to do a little more work. I guess what was your mindset with that and kind of the purpose of? I've been in and out. Really being sick and then getting hurt. So I would say probably Minnesota. Up until now I haven't been where I want to be peak conditioning wise. I've been in and out the lineup, trying to get myself back to it. So understanding late 20 minutes last night, get a little more work in last night just to keep the wind fresh. I came out early at halftime to try and get my wind up and my heart rate up. Those are, like I said, those are the little things. Instead of doing a whole workout session today, trying to keep myself, and keep myself in that type of shape. And it's tough when you're in, then you're out, and you're in, and you're out, and you're not feeling well, so then you can't do it next time. You're just trying to be able to get back to big shape. When this team is at its best, what is the role that you envision for the bench? For the bench, for the second and third units coming in when this team's at its best, what is the role of that?
Honestly, it depends on the night. A lot of nights, you look at, we lost the game, but I look at Toronto, starters, we did a terrible job on the floor, and they came in and did everything. Then you look at, a night like last night, Jetty comes in and has a phenomenal game. And then there's other nights where defensively, that's what we need. You look at another night where Raul comes in and basically takes over the Phoenix game, both Phoenix games. He changes the direction of the game, and so being able to be ready for whatever's called. And it's not just one person; it's a group. Having Ricky back, he creates a controlling presence on the floor, can see things, can control the pace. Lover with his shooting ability. Raul, like I said, being a pass, always being ready. You got to give the bench guys credit because some nights Lamar as well. Understanding that he may not play every night, but when your number is called, to be ready to give the team defense, offense, energy, effort, whatever it may be. When we're at our best, that's what they give us on a night-to-night basis.
Did you see any strengths with your bench with Evan and J.A. that you noticed sitting out and how to effectively use them to their strengths over the past month?
I think Evan's become more aggressive. I think we've all seen that. I think that's the easiest answer. I think I think that game against Milwaukee, you always have that as a young player. You have that one game. I don't know if he had one last year or not, but I know from this year, I feel like that game, ever since he's gotten the ball in the paint, he's going up strong and confident in his fadeaways and his hook shots, his lamps at the rim. He's just seems like he's more aggressive to get into it, which we love to see. We need that. We need that out of Evan. You can tell him all you want, but sometimes you have to realize and see it for yourself. And Evan, in order to do that, and then when you see, quite frankly, when you see I'm sitting down watching guys try to attack the paint, try and close out. Like last night, we put on a clinic, man, on the defensive end. Just holding. I think it was 15 points the first quarter, and obviously they didn't have a quiet Paul George, but still being able to rotate, seeing the Evan J get on the perimeter, being able to close out, and also being in position to block shots. They did against OKC, against Houston. So many different nights. They're always there for us. They're the anchor of our defense, and you see why they are who they are. And I think both of them, should definitely be, on the defensive team.
You and a lot of the other guys have talked about the big picture with this team. As you're going through the season, and you're not necessarily getting the results on a night-to-night basis that you want, how much do you have to remind yourself, Donovan, that there is a bigger picture in play and not get caught up in the emotions of what happens throughout 82?
Yeah, I think, if you have the emotions, it's a good thing. It means you carry, it means you
you want to win, but understanding that, there's certain things. There's some games where it's like, I don't care what the big picture is. We should win this game, or we shouldn't have lost this one, or whatever. And you have those moments, But I think that's all part of the growth. But for us, man, a lot of us, like, we haven't been to where we want to go. You know what I mean? So understanding that aspect, I think that's the part of having the patience with that, and understanding that, the playoffs don't necessarily start in April or May, whenever it is. They start in nights like, there's games coming up. These last 9 we got coming up. Understanding what it looks like after All-Star break, the severity of like every game after that. Like that's when those little things start, and you start to build up. So I think that's the biggest thing, is understanding and having more grace with us as a group. I think we all have that, and understanding like, we want to get to where we want to get to, but a lot of us haven't been, and we got to understand that. A lot of the teams we're playing, they know what it takes. They know how to approach each night. Like tomorrow is a big game for the standings. 5th and 16th and whatever, and understanding what the energy they're going to bring. We're ahead of them in the standings, but understanding that, understanding what the Memphis game brings, like understanding every night on a night-to-night basis. I think that's the biggest thing. And allowing yourself to be like, okay, like things may not have gone our way in certain nights, but understanding that it's all part of the growth process. Because quite frankly, if I want to be honest, I think we all want to say, yeah, we'd love to learn and be in the 2nd seed right now. But at the end of the day, that's not the case. We got to continue to build and grow, and the season's far from over. But we have to, like you said, keep our eye on the bigger picture. I think we're doing a good job of that, but also having patience with ourselves and understanding that we're growing into what we want to be throughout this year, and having that expectation, because we play to win the championship. That's what we want to do.
Even though you can't replicate exactly what happens in the postseason and the regular season, have there been moments throughout the course of each year, whether it's been Darius or Evan, guys that haven't been there, have asked you, or you've said to them, hey, this is kind of like the playoffs in this way, that way?
I think tomorrow will be that. I think tomorrow's game will definitely be a playoff type game. The Boston games at the beginning of the year. The game we lost in Utah, that's a playoff atmosphere. That's a road type game. The game against Golden State, the game against the Clippers, and both games are Golden State and then the Clippers. And you look at how we lost a few of those games, is because the Milwaukee game in Milwaukee game here, the first Milwaukee game here, like those are games where you look at, we've lost the Golden States, the LAs, but they just turned into another gear that they had. And looking back at that, I was like, okay, this is why we ended up losing this game. I understand. Okay, cool. They understand. They've been playing with each other for a while. Then on the flip side, leave me alone, bro. Leave me alone. Go. And then you look at the Milwaukee game here, like we got blown out twice in Milwaukee, and then our response that next time we played here. Tomorrow will be another test for us. Just being able to just let guys know, like, hey, this is what this is going to be like. I speak to the Utah game a lot because it was loud. Like, I don't think any arena is as loud as that, except obviously here, I'm biased. But like that playoff road atmosphere, like that's what that is. And a lot of it we faced at the beginning of the year. We haven't really had those road intensity games that I can remember on top of my head, but understanding that, and I tell these guys, like, look, there's going to be nights, especially once this All-Star break hits, once we get back to it, like, this seeding is crazy. This seeding is crazy. We could win 4 in a row and be in second. We could lose 4 in a row and be in 10th. So understanding that every game counts, but also on the same token, not putting that pressure on yourself every night, because it can wear on you as the year goes on.
Yeah. No. What do you think is to pointing at the reason why that is? Like, I think you guys are like 1-5 or 1-16 with 30 wins, but then you look at other teams and there's guys three games over 500. Got teams that are 3 games under 500, but everyone's still in it.
Yeah, the league is competitive. I think it's one of the most competitive years since I've been in the league. It's just one of those things where everybody's beating up on each other. And the teams that you consider lottery teams aren't playing like lottery teams. To be honest, like you look at Orlando, the way they've played against Boston. You look at Sacramento, who since I've been in the league has never been to the playoffs. They're 4 seed. You can, there's not many teams. Detroit's not a sleeper. You look at all these teams, San Antonio, that typically, since I've been in the league, have been on the bottom part of the standings, and now they're out there every night. And guys, you got to give the guys and you got to give the organization, the coaches credit. Oklahoma City's another one. You got to give them credit because every night they're coming out playing hard, playing to win. And that's what makes it tough. There's no guarantees in this league, and you're seeing teams great from the top to the bottom, continuously fighting and scrapping.